Hello and welcome to the 6-Star Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Aveline Clarke, and you're about to listen to another incredible episode with an amazing human all about how they are making a difference in the world using their passion, their purpose, and the alignment of their genius. Because I believe that we make the greatest impact in our life when we combine our passion with our purpose and our genius. That's where the magic happens. This conversation is going to be good because they always are. There's so much to gain from these. They're beautiful, they're inspiring, and I invite you to open up to see the possibilities of what you can do in your life too. Enjoy. My next guest is the very lovely Rev Clare Hinsley. I was so excited to have Rev Clare on the podcast. She comes at life from a very different perspective, and she's a metaphysical minister. She's got a Doctor of Philosophy and Ph.D. from the University of Sedona in the USA. She resides in the UK, and she has had an incredible journey that's brought her to where she is today. A trained engineer through her career, she was able to intuit and understand why the mechanics of something wasn't working before her mechanical engineering skill kicked in. She helps people to regain trust and connection with their own soul, therefore helping them on their path of this life. And how she speaks and what she speaks of is pure love and helping people to become their full self. She utilizes philosophies and practices from the Eastern, Native American, shamanic, ancient Egyptian, and Western origins. It's knowledge that's been adapted and she can focus it to an individual. She does counseling on a one-on-one basis, and she also does some amazing things, which she talks about in this conversation. What a beautiful, beautiful person. She's also a published author of the book, The Happiness Warrior, Finding Your Instinctive Self Within Western Civilization, which, as we all know, can be very tricky at times. So that's something to have a look at. Without further ado, here is Rev Clare Hinsley. Enjoy. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got the lovely Rev Clare Hinsley with me today. How are you, Claire?
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on and talk with me today.
Yeah, it's a great privilege and honor, especially seeing you're the other side of the world.
Don't you love what technology has enabled? You're probably just finishing breakfast and I'm finishing dinner, and here we are meeting, for this conversation. So it's wonderful. Well, now I get to ask you some questions, and these are all about getting to know you. So the first one is, like you mentioned, you're on the other side of the world. Whereabouts exactly are you?
So I am based in southwest England, which is quite a nice place. I have lived in numerous places over my life. I've lived in California and lots of parts of England. And it seems that my energies need to be settled in this part, Wiltshire, for the moment. So I'm quite enjoying it.
Sounds lovely. It's so important to have a place that you feel completely calm and you're resonant with, so that you can be, in alignment with yourself, really, and be at your best, I feel.
Definitely, yeah. You can hear from some people that they resonate with some areas. They feel comfortable in some areas, as you say, and that just helps empower the individual and allows them to be their best self, which is exactly what you say. Definitely, it's really important. And that's not just limited to where you are. It's who you surround yourself with as well, who you talk to, who you become friends with, who inspires you.
Interesting. Thank you, Claire. So tell me, who is it that you serve and how do you serve them?
This is a really good question, and something I have been working for guides, and they get me to do different things. And what I found was working with some of the guides was really inspiring, and I was sort of getting almost going down the path of that particular guide. And then I realized that, hang on a second, there's only one thing that I should be serving at the utmost. And for me, I'm not concerned about terminology. Lots of people have different types of terminology. But for me, I term who I serve predominantly as the creator. So as far as I'm concerned, if everyone sort of decides that they've come from something, and I'm not talking physically as in your mother and father, but if they've come from something, their soul has come from somewhere, that's where people should predominantly be focusing on how they should serve for that. It's become very prominent. I have noticed that I have got myself into a little bit of a pickle as such on a few occasions if I forget that. So I have to sort of remind myself quite often.
So such an interesting answer. Not the standard answer that I get, and I love it. I'm completely open, and I love that this conversation is going to take us places that most don't, but it's going to expand people's thinking, knowledge, awareness, and I ask the listeners to be very open-minded. But I think there's a lot to be gained from this conversation. I know there is, and for me too. So before we get into some good stuff, I wanted to know, what do you do in your spare time? Like, what do you do when you're not busy serving?
So I do artwork. I have visions, and interestingly enough, the most of the time, these visions either come in meditation or they come in the middle of the night when I need to use the loo. And then I will hold that and paint that or draw that. And they seem prominent. I have talked to a few people. I don't tend to watch much information. I certainly don't watch the news. I'm very particular with where I get my information from, and I try to get it from spiritual sources rather than physical sources. So when these images come through, there is a meaning behind them. I might not know that meaning until a later date, or sometimes people will come in and they will say, "Oh my gosh, that is exactly what I saw the other day," and it's created a link or a bond with somebody else. So as much as I can do the artwork, the better, really. And I do find that any sort of creative activities, be it dancing, artwork, music, it tends to switch your mind off into a partial meditative state. So it's extremely important. It stops all the must do the washing up, must take the kids to here and there thoughts that can bombard us and lower our vibration and make us worry. Creativity is we are creators, and this is what we're here to do. Be creative.
I'm so glad you said that. It's a reminder, and I think every person listening to this conversation right now is a creator. You've created a business, and whether you see yourself as just a business owner or a creative spirit, doesn't matter. You are a creative spirit. Yeah. I'd love to get to know the journey. I mean, you didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be this channeler, who connects in and has visions and helps people on the, where did it start? Like, could you share with me the journey that's brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. In my childhood years, I used to, when friends came around, I used to pick up on their relatives that weren't of the physical form anymore. And I would say things like, "Oh, your grandmother says so and so." And one time, which was greatly received by by children, my friends, but sometimes if parents got within earshot of this, it would unsettle them because that might not be comfortable. So I shut down, and I tried to not pick up on information that was coming energetically or spiritually. And I decided to go the sort of route, a career in engineering. And I was doing readings, tarot card readings or oracle card readings for all my friends and family and things like that, pretty much since I was in my early teens. Found them fascinating and loved crystals and their power and their healing that they could bring. So I went down the engineering route, and which was wonderful. Had some pretty good jobs. Then I was about to become a chartered engineer, and I realized that I had a design engineer a degree at university, and that wouldn't give me the chartered mechanical engineer, which the company that I was employed for at that time wanted. So I thought, okay, I'm already geared up to study. So what can I study? So I I found metaphysics, which is an understanding of the mind and the way it works and how our thoughts create and influence our existence. So I started doing this, and while I was working as an engineer and having two boys, I'm not sure what happened in the rest of the time while I was studying because there wasn't much time left. But it just felt so natural to me, and it was so easy to study this subject. Everything seemed to click in and fit, and I just sort of flew through it. Really, really great course. University of Sedona, University of Metaphysics, great online course that anybody can do at their own pace. I would highly recommend it. And then got qualified as a metaphysical minister, and then did the master's and the doctorate straight afterwards. Basically read, and it's about 500,000 words I wrote and 30 odd books. It was quite an intensive whole section. But luckily my partner was great, and the kids were wonderful. I think it was also important for the kids to see their mother study to this extent. I think it sort of influenced them that they can't be lazy. So that was really nice. And then I carried on with engineering, and I used to get called into places where machines were broken down. So I didn't necessarily have the full understanding of each machine because there must have been about 200 different types of machines. So I would go there, assess the situation, and see if I could fix it myself or bring the appropriate people in to get it up and running. And there was one time I was called there, and when production stops in a highly functional manufacturing firm, everybody panics. So I walked up to this machine, and studying metaphysics, having just completed, I thought, okay, my reality is a product of what I'm feeling inside. So I asked myself, shut my eyes with everybody panicking around me, and I asked myself, what is wrong inside me that is creating this issue on the machine? Now, that sounds like a very strange situation to be in, and I'm sure everybody around me who was panicking must have thought I was completely insane because I just stood there and shut my eyes. And then I had this vision of a part in this machine, and I opened my eyes and I went straight to that part in the machine, and I sort of twiddled it a little bit and got it realigned, and it started working. And everybody was like, okay, great, thanks. And I said, yep, okay, off back to my desk to do some more work. But the impact of that really sat within me and sort of grew roots within me, as really showed me, and this is what I'm about. You have to experience these things for yourself in order to learn the best way. So at that point, I started going into meetings with the directors, and all I could see, it was like my whole vision changed. I couldn't relate or resonate with the discussions that were taking place. All I could see was egos. This manager wanted to speak, he wanted to have a say, and that manager wanted to have a say. Everybody was in this meeting room talking about things, and I just wanted to get out of the meeting room and do the things that they were talking about, come back and have them finished by the time they'd completed the whole meeting. And I found myself more so talking to people. People would be coming to me and they would just open themselves up as if here's my deepest, darkest issues. And I thought, no, I can't do the engineering anymore. I have to help people on a one-to-one or a group basis, because for me it is so fulfilling. Back in when I was about 20 years ago, often when I go to sleep, things happen in my sleep. Potentially astral travel. Some people may call it a dream, but when you're really feeling and really smelling, without the use of your physical, pardon me, senses, there's something more out there than just the physical aspect of life. And there was these 3 guides who took me to this room in this old building, and there was a set of stairs going up, and halfway up the stairs there was a young boy sat cradling his knees in tears. And I looked at him and I said, what's the matter? And he said, I'm waiting for my mum. I haven't seen her for a long time. And at that point, the 3 guides said, he's passed over, and he's not moved to the next level. So I sat there and I thought, okay, what can I do? And I could really feel the anguish and the sadness in this boy. I tend to be a feeler. I can really pick up on what other people feel. And all of a sudden, this light sort of at the top of the hallway started to appear and grow bigger, and I saw this figure. And as soon as I saw this figure come from the other side of the light, I instantly knew within me, not from a shake hands, hello, let me introduce you. There's just an inner knowing that comes with many people, everybody as well. And I thought, that's his mother. And I looked at the boy and I said, is that your mother? And he said, it is. And he got up and he ran towards her. And I can still feel it now, this rush of almost like pins and needles energy going through my whole entire body. It felt like pure joy. And the boy just ran off, and this sort of the light started to close up, almost like there was a portal that was opened and then shut. And I thought, this is payment much more so than money, any money. The feeling, and that really sort of pushed me along this line of doing this energetic work, because it's so fulfilling, so much more than we should not need to rely on other people patting us on the back saying we've done a good job. We need to feel within us that we've done a good job. And if we don't feel that, then it's almost a false need to get somebody else to say, oh, you've done a great job. So that's pretty much my journey. And then once I left engineering, I was in this. I've written a book called The Happiness Warrior: Finding Your Instinctive Self Within Western Civilization. I realized that through my metaphysical studies, I have empowered myself through not so much taking the advice of other people and going down their route, but finding my own almost soul path route, learning really how to listen to my gut instinct. And I realized how much my life had changed. And I thought, I need to get this out in a book form so that I can share it with other people. Because if I can do it, everybody can do it. And when we're tapped into something that's higher than ourselves, something that's pure, we're never going to get badly influenced. We're going to be doing what we need to be doing on our soul path. Now, I've been to the, I don't know if you've heard of the Akashic Records. I've been there on an astral travel, and this is through my own experience. This isn't through somebody else telling me. It is a massive list of points that everyone will hit within their lifetime. I couldn't tell you how many points there were, because as soon as I came back to this plane, this physical existence, the information that was in the book was wiped. What I believe is because the human cellular physical structure cannot hold that amount of information and wisdom. So it comes back in dribs and drabs. But when I saw that there was specific points, we're all on a certain path, and we will hit those points regardless. It's almost like we signed some sort of contract before we became physical beings. We will hit those points. What we do in between those points is completely free will choice. So we have a lot of leeway, but eventually we will hit those points. Now, if we had, for example, 10 points and we only hit 5 points, I'm not sure if it carries over to another lifetime or not. Obviously, I'm a big believer in other lifetimes, because I've had experiences where I've known that I've known the physical individual that has passed over, and they've still communicated with me after they've passed over. So I know from, again, personal experience that there is life beyond the physical aspect. And this is where I jump back to the dreams. In a dream, you might see something, your eyes are not open. So there's a spiritual aspect to everything else. And then after writing the book, I got introduced to a multi-wave oscillator, which is designed by Lvovsky, who trained Nikola Tesla back in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s. And he found that this multi-wave oscillator, the symbol of it, and symbols we can see everywhere. We can see them on cave paintings. We can see them in gardens. We can see them in pyramids. We can see them everywhere. These are not new things. But this symbol, he realized that it keeps your cells at a natural negative vibration. And what he found at that time, probably microwaves were coming in, but radio waves and microwaves were positively. Now we have Wi-Fi and all these other things that are positively charged. And they're actually draining us, making us feel a little bit more tired, because they're trying to positively charge our negatively charged cells. So I took one of these multi-wave oscillators, or MWOs, and I put it under my pillow. It's just a little disc with a symbol on it. And I shut my eyes, and all these lights started flashing, and they were moving in a Fibonacci sequence, and I could see it very clear. And at that point, I realized that this is a healing light language, and I needed to combine these multi-wave oscillators with crystals, which I've loved my whole entire life, and metals, which I've used scrap metals from my old engineering firm, combined them in resin. And then what came along was scalar technology of programming the combination of these items. So I've basically went into mad scientist mode, locked myself away for about a year, and because there's no instructions with these machines, and sat there, created this ceremony which includes I Ching, spiritual alchemy, and scalar wave technology, among other things, and realized that I could spend half an hour instilling healing into the pieces of orgone, which is orgone is the actual name for the combination of crystals and metal and copper. And I could make jewelry, things that people wear, and I could program them with things like inner peace, which is really important. Everybody needs a little bit of inner peace. I could program them with inner joy. I could program them with confidence, determination. And I started rehoming. I don't like saying selling because they are part of my family. I started rehoming these items, and people were coming back to me saying, "You've completely changed my life." And I've said, well, I haven't really done anything because the ceremony, the program that I use is all powered by the creator. They said, no, but you have. And I went to a conference a few weeks ago, and I was almost in tears after the first half an hour because I had people, 3 or 4 people at the same time come up to me, tell me these amazing things that have happened to them. And they've still got the necklace that they rehomed or adopted, a year before. And they're adamant that it has got something to do with me. I don't want to take any credit whatsoever. But I started to do pyramids in Oregon, and I started to do big wall hanging trays in Oregon, and I started using different crystals. I use lots of opal because opal is a great feminine power stone. I use moldavite. Moldavite is a great male powering stone. And when I programmed the moldavite in a big disc, about 2 hours later, I got this image of this almost spider web coming off of me and attaching itself to each piece of orgone that I have created with the help of the creator. And what I realized then is that part of the ceremony is that I can re-energize from afar via the scalar technology, and reactivate all the orgone that's out there. So every time I program a new one, I am re-energizing all the ones that are out there. So they're complete, they're just powering up all the time. And I just find it absolutely fascinating. So that is sort of the orgone, which has completely changed my life. And if anybody comes, I tend to do stalls. If anybody comes up to me and says, "Oh, what do these do?" I tend to say, go and find someone who's got one, because I'm not a very good salesperson. You're better off getting it firsthand from somebody else who uses them. I mean, they're all around me, and I think they're wonderful. But there's a lot more in them than even I'm aware. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to power up. I volunteer in a community center, which is part of my my service to the community, and it's an art gallery, a music space, creative space, and we help. It's called Can Do Arts in Chippenham Shopping Center. We basically get people to become more creative so that they can switch off from all this external thought noise. And if people want to come in and see me and get information or guidance, they can do that for free in there. And I find it really important. I have brought my oracle cards in there and done some readings in there, but people who want readings tend to want it on a one-to-one basis, because they will pull, the readings are fascinating. I've probably learned more from these readings than any external information. I seem to be able to tap into what I call they, because they don't have there's a group of individuals. So I just call them they. They're quite happy with that. They don't really like labels anyway. And I tend to do a 10-card spread, and it will go through the situation. I don't take a question, can I have a reading about this? Because it will be overridden by the hierarchy of what you're needing to know at this point in time for your life path. And it's interesting because there was a person who came into the Can Do shop, and I was doing free readings, and someone said, "Oh, he's schizophrenic. You want to be careful with a reading for him." And I said, "I don't need to be careful. They know exactly what individuals need to be cleared of and everything. They do it all. So I'm a minor percentage in the readings." But they do also realize how spiritual a person is. So if a person is really spiritual and has a high level of understanding of energies and things like that, then they will really sort of delve deep. If a person has a very limited understanding of that or comprehension of that, then they will go quite light, and it'll be more of a physical reading. But quite often, which I'm still not 100% used to, people will leave a reading hysterically giggling. And then I've had some wonderful feedback, and I have to be very careful not to become egoic about this. Somebody the other month came up to me and said, "Do you know how many people's lives you've improved?" And I have to go, "Thanks, that's great. Right, next." Otherwise, I might just get trapped in this sort of cycle. But yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, these days, I'm doing a deeper level research into spiritual alchemy, because it's really important. The way we react to things is prominent in what it actually creates for our next situations. So the more centered and aware we are of our reactions, the higher the vibration. And this is really easy to test. So if you had to make a decision and you were thinking about a million other things at the same time, you might make the wrong decision on that one. If you had time and you had space and you had a clear head to really sort of go through and feel from your heart what the decision should be, it will improve your life. So we have to really learn to trust our heart and our gut, because our head has been conditioned, and this is not limited to this generation, it has been conditioned for numerous generations. We have to trust ourselves, stop relying on other people's influences, because that is influence from their experience, from their life path. We're all individuals. We don't have the same life path. Every leaf on a tree has a different job to do, and you don't see the leaves arguing, and you don't see anybody saying that leaf looks worse than that leaf. So why do we do it as human beings? Why has it become a human nature comparing themselves? This was something that got screamed to me the other night via what I call a download. stop comparing yourself to others. It's really important. I'm seeing it with my own children, who are of the age in their sort of around their 20s, who are joining the workforce as such. They're trying to find their careers. They're trying to sort of make their stepping stones, and they're being influenced by other people. My youngest has just passed his driving test, so anybody in southwest England better get off the roads for at least the next few months. But his driving instructor, while he was doing the tests, was reversing onto our drive, and he went over the curb. And my eldest said to him, "Oh, you've gone over the curb." And the driving instructor said, "I know what I'm doing. I meant to do that." And my son went, "Oh, yeah, of course you did." He literally took his word for it. And I'm sat here thinking, no, he did not do that. He did that on accident. He didn't realize what he was doing because it is quite an awkward drive to get on. But he managed to convince my son that he was in the right. And my son was in the wrong. And that I found fascinating. And this is what we have to combat as human beings on a daily basis. People are trying to convince us of something else. We really need to find ourselves. And it's okay to say no. Gosh, how important is that? And it's okay to say, I don't want to spend time with you because you literally drain me of energy. We have to become much more responsible for our reactions, for our energy. If people are continuously draining energy off of you, they have problem after problem after problem, and we pander to that, we are encouraging that. So we have to be very careful that we empower people, and sometimes that is by standing back and letting them make their own mistakes rather than disempower people. It's really important. Yeah. Is there any questions you've got?
Many. Thank you for that. How fascinating. When you were saying before, I just want to jump back when you're mentioning that when you're at the shop and someone said, "Oh, look how many people you've influenced or changed their lives," and you said, "Oh, you played it down. You didn't want to take that on too much." And then my initial thought was, and think about how many machines you fixed as well, and all the people that have been influenced by you fixing those machines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
beautiful.
In the engineering firm, I learned very quickly and was very particular about it. I was in the quote unquote office, and that comes with a stigma from people who are on the shop floor. And I was because I did a lot of project managing there, I needed the help of everyone. So if I was ever walking around, it was smile at everyone, because that person may be able to help you at some point in the future. You don't know when. And when deadlines are becoming really tight, you're really relying on other people heavily to, to pull things together. So there's no hierarchy anywhere. And I was very particular because the office was upstairs. I was very particular not to say I'm going upstairs or I'm coming downstairs, because the up and the down in that way, here's where we get into spiritual alchemy and the words and how they have and hold and can transfer energy. I'm not saying that I'm going downstairs, because that's quite detrimental, and I'm not saying that I'm going upstairs, because that's almost saying that I'm better than anyone, and I'm not. Nobody's better than anyone. Everybody's got their own skills that they can bring to the table. When we are able to find people's niches, they can then be sort of directed to utilize that niche, and they can feel success for themselves. When people belittle others, it's always because they have their own issues and they're expressing that they have their own issues. Uh, so if anyone ever is rude, we have to stop taking this personally. It's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is our energy, um, what we express, what we emanate. Metaphysics is very much about the be seen being and doing what your highest vibrational activities are, because you're more likely to influence other people and be inspiring in that way rather than controlling and telling people what to do. I don't like telling people what to do. But yes, it's all very interesting.
It is. Fascinating. What a fascinating journey you've had. And how perfect that you started as an engineer to figure out how things, fitted together and how things worked, and then going on to the unseen world of how things work, which is the mind and energy. And now you bring that all together. The pieces that you make sound fascinating, that you rehome. I definitely want to learn more about those. And there's so many things that you've said. I would love to tap into more of what you've said about us needing to trust in ourselves. So what I see in the world around me, generally speaking, I too don't listen to the news, or, I'm very selective with what I take on in my eyes and my ears. But certainly there are still influences around me, in the business world, in my family, my neighborhood. And there are pulls, there are things that energies that happen, or expectations, or existing structures. And the work that I do, as an example, is typically comes under the marketing kind of category. Even though I don't like calling myself a marketer, I don't align with that label. And yet, what is that about? So I see competition. I see how people in business try and present themselves to the world. So let's use this, because every person listening to this gets this. You've tried to sell what you're selling, whether it's a service, a product, a mixture of both. And most people compare themselves to others. It's a age-old, technique we've been taught. Do your market analysis. Where do you sit in your market? How are you better than them or different than them? Or, and using this language. And I think there's such conditioning, and that's on us, but also sitting in the business space, for instance. And it saddens me that people feel the need to do that. And I also feel that more and more people are getting tired of it. Like, they're at this point where they actually want something more, what's the word? Just more natural, more them. They don't want to play in that space anymore. So how can somebody, with the advice, I'm seeking your advice here, and how does someone who's a business owner, they've been in business for many years, doing all the right things in inverted commas, and they're still feeling quite stale or frustrated that things haven't gone the way they want, and they don't feel very authentic, perhaps, or then maybe they're not connecting with the right people? What would you say?
This stems from the education system. So the education system, you learn what we're told as maths, English, science, all the things that are valuable to a successful career, and the arts and the creative aspect is very little of the whole curriculum. So what we see is that from early day education, we're already put into this, everything already exists. we're only referencing what has already been done, and we're not being supported or encouraged to go outside of the box, because we've had all this, all these years of fitting into the current system. So when we sort of come out of it and we're running our own business or career, and we're doing it on our own, there's still a little bit of that needs to be unpicked within our cellular memory. What I found from my personal experience, when I left engineering, it was a complete leap of faith. And I said to myself, I'd spent many years building up this engineering career. So to jump from it in my mid-40s was a big risk. A lot of people would have been uncomfortable in doing that. But I definitely knew it was a leap of faith. I seem to have a lot of leap of faith. When I first studied engineering, I was the only female on the course, and I would get ridiculed often. Then you shouldn't be here because you're a female. But those sorts of comments just make me more determined to prove people wrong. But what I found with specifically with the orgon and the readings, the oracle readings, when I try and attach a need to be financially supported to them, what I'm doing with my mind is putting a reliance on I need money. And the way the universe works, and this is really super simple, if you think you need money, the universe will say, your wish is to need money rather than to have. So the universe sort of moves things and financial abundance sort of farther away because you want to need it rather than actually have it. So when you jump with your mind, and this is a super powerful thing to do, when you jump with your mind into the future and almost visualize and create this, I already have this abundance of whatever it is, and I'm so grateful for it, that sort of kicks the universe into action, and the energies start creating it. Now, our subconscious mind our conscious mind has to program our subconscious mind and override the programming that it's had from potentially previous generations and this generation. So when we say, I need something, that we could have thought that 100 times, and that will be 100 times strong in our subconscious. When we think, I'm so grateful for having that, you've knocked one off of the 100 I needs thoughts that are in there, if that makes sense. And the more committed you are, the quicker you will be at wiping out the subconscious thoughts that contain, I need this. So it's about commitment, and commitment can be found anywhere. If I went down the gym, I'm going to be sore the first day, but if I keep going, I'm going to break through that soreness and manage to push myself farther, and I'm going to get farther. So we have to rewrite our own programming. I have been watching a couple of movies in the last month, and then in my sleep, I've noticed those movies replaying myself. So information is coming at us from not only the news, not only our environment, it's coming from movies, it's coming from magazines, and it is almost embedding itself in our subconscious as to be the truth. It's very easy to know the truth because it will feel calmer. what I'm finding at the moment is that a lot of people are confusing anxiety with high vibrations. So for me to jump out of engineering, I was kind of anxious to do it, and it was a leap of faith, but it was almost an energy buildup. Uh, when you fall in love with someone and you get butterflies, and before you're going to do a speech in front of somebody, that feeling is the same. It's the same. It happens in the same place. It happens in your gut. It's the same feeling. Before we go to do a speech, we might think, "Oh, this is a detrimental energy. This is an anxious energy." But we don't. When we fall in love with someone, we don't think this is an anxious energy. We instantly know that this is sort of butterflies, and we put it at that. We need to more realize that sometimes we have to, these anxious energies are creative energies. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. The more you do it, the more you grow. It is the quickest, fastest teacher. Stepping out of your comfort zone. If there's a little bit of fear involved, just assess if that's butterflies as excitement, or if it's actually fear or warning. And this is what I'm trying to get other people to tap into. They've got this ability to do these, make these decisions. So, as far as business owners are concerned, stop trying to make money and start convincing your subconscious that you're super successful and that you're not necessarily doing it for money, but you're doing it for the betterment of your community. When you, as you heard, I say rehome, because as soon as I say sell, it's really belittling that piece of organ. Uh, it's like no, it's just not nice. So move beyond. This is how we create with our minds, with our beliefs, with our dreams and desires. Ask any entrepreneur. Um, they will have had an idea in their mind and they were so in love with that idea that no one could come from any angle and say that that was a terrible idea. They would push them away straight away and just go, I'm determined, I'm doing this, I'm focused. So that shows the power of the mind and thoughts, because we are body, mind, and spirit. So the mind has been potentially conditioned, so we have to be very careful with what we think. The spirit can connect with the mind and the body. Goosebumps, that spirit connecting directly with the body. But we have to be careful that we don't have too many conditioned thoughts and we don't allow those to rule our lives. That they can get dangerous and they can literally flick the switch on you getting instinctive guidance.
Mm, mm. Absolutely. I mean, we all get guidance, and I don't think I've met any person on my journey that hasn't acknowledged that they've got some level of knowing, whether it's in their mind, their gut, whatever they talk about, intuitive. That's what it is. It's that guidance. And what I'm hearing you talk about is that the importance of listening to that, so in a way that is so clear, to then allow more of it to come through and more of it, because that then will guide us to our unique path, why we're here. We've all been born with this soul seed, this kernel of something. Like you said, we weren't born to all be the same, like leaves on a tree. So going back to the point about the marketing, it's stop comparing yourself to other people and just be you, and be in awe of you, because we are all different. We all have this magical mystery path to go on. Yeah. I've got a couple of questions, and I've just looked at the time and go, oh my God, I can't believe we've been talking so long already, but I can believe it. I'll probably have to get you back for part two. What would you say is your unique genius?
Ooh. Breathing. Breathing, I'm pretty good at that. I think, no, that's interesting that I said I think there. I feel my unique genius potentially could be my ability to disconnect from my environment, and instead of, I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed with the term empath, because it means that you're controlled by other people's energies and thoughts and moods. And I believe I'm now at the stage, and continue to grow, where I emanate what I want in my environment. So if I want peace, and I can tell you, working, volunteering in a community center is a great test of this on some occasions. um, the the readings that I do, I have to be very careful not to use anything that's in my subconscious, and I have to bypass that and tap into something else, and not influence. So if somebody says to me, "Oh, I'd like a reading," and then they start saying their life story, I almost have to put earmuffs on, because I don't want that to influence me. But to disconnect from the barrage of lower vibrational energies allows me to really shine my light, and that is seen from that is seen on an energetic level. So potentially my genius is just to continue to strive to shine brighter and brighter and brighter.
Thank you. It's a privilege for me to hear you speak, because I understand everything that you're saying, and I can only imagine what it feels like to be so sovereign, yeah, and disconnected from the barrage of input and noise and flux around, and all the connections to all the people and the things, and it's just crazy. In our world has become so it's just become so noisy, and not just audibly, it's just noisy all around us. So how can we, so this is for the listeners, if you've got all of this noise going on from your TV, from your computer, your emails, the people around you, the thoughts and the buzz in your brain and the EMFs and all the stuff, how on earth can you hear the whispers in your soul that says, here's the answer to the question you've got, here's where you need to go?
So first of all, I always, I can say, if you place your hand in the middle of your chest and you allow your heartbeat. Now, what I've been learning recently is your heartbeat is not necessarily limited to a beating organ. It is a vibrationary. When a cat sits on you and purrs, it calms you down. So your heartbeat does that as well. You can literally focus on your heartbeat and make it vibrate and pulsate to what maybe the doctors say you need to go to hospital. You can really make it boom and pound that much. That's not a scary thing when you're focused on it and when you actually sort of control it. But that beat is our own internal calming system. So when we focus on that, we hold our hand in the middle of our chest, we can actually feel a warmth between the center of our chest and the palm of that hand. And that gets warmer and warmer, and that really connects us in and grounds us. Because what you're sort of saying is that you need a little bit of grounding with everything on. Now, I appreciate some people like to get out there and actually have bare feet on the ground or bare hands in the earth, gardening and things like that, which is great and wonderful. But don't limit yourself to the physical aspect of grounding. You have the ability to literally grow roots with your mind, with your imagination into the ground, and that will through cement, through 10 stories, 10 floors of a building, however far you want to go. uh, Ground yourself calm. Calmness stops a lot of things. Being mindful about what you're doing. Are you actually, when you're commuting, or when you're doing jobs, how mindful are you? The more consciously aware you are, the less space noise has to enter your mind. So it becomes, and this is how we control ourselves. You'll find people who yell and scream are out of control in themselves. Buddhas and priests and people who meditate for hours upon end, and I don't think that's necessary for everyone. Being consciously aware is the same thing. It's a light form of meditation. But people who are that calm, you'll never find them belittling other people, because there's no need. They don't need energy off of other people. They don't need to do that. They give energy, they inspire instead. So when and this is partially why all of this is happening, the bombardment of lower vibrational information is to stop us tapping in, and to make us feed off of other people. So we have to become responsible to calm ourselves, tap into something higher, get energy from that, and then we have the ability to inspire. And I say inspire because it's not influence, it's inspire. We don't want to disempower, we want to empower. That's where you really emanate. And you can see that when you go to a party, and there's someone chatting in the side and they're laughing and giggling, and everybody moves towards that individual because they're freely giving off energy. And you will leave the party feeling great. So we have to be responsible for grounding ourselves. Responsible is a wonderful, wonderful word. If you want to lose weight, you're going to do it. You have to do it. You can't have somebody sat there feeding you what you can eat and telling you what to exercise. You have to do it. We have the power to do these things. We are distracted. We are drained of energy. So let's ground ourselves, center ourselves with our heartbeat, and let's take this planet to the next level.
Wow. Yeah. So powerful. Oh gosh, we have gone over time, but it's been so worth it. I do need to ask you the question I do ask all my guests, and that's about the 6 star. So, what does being 6 star mean to you?
Being 6 star. Stars are bright and powerful. Six is I work with a lot of sacred geometry, and the six-pointed stars, it's an equilibrium. It's a state of balance. So to be 6 star is like a balanced light worker almost.
Yes, indeed. And they need to be that so that they can tune in to who they are in this balanced way, to hear the messages, to understand what their gut's saying, or their internal, that yes, balance. And I love that. I really love that. Another perspective on 6 star. Now we have come to the end, Claire. Yet this is definitely not the end for us, because I feel like there's some amazing rabbit holes and topics we could talk about on another episode. But how can people get in contact with you?
I've created a website, www.loosh.co.uk. I've specifically taken that term on. If you research that term, it's got a lower vibrational, and I've taken that term to bring higher vibrational to it. A lot of things are hidden in plain sight as such, and I believe this term, it's our life force, it's our power. We should stop giving it away, which is what the other definitions, and we should start holding on to it and therefore emanate, which is what we talked about earlier. So loosh.co.uk, on there I have an email. Yes, or come and see me in person. On that website, I put where I am, what conferences I'm going to, and things like that. Come and see me in the shopping centre in Chippenham in Can Do Arts on every Thursday.
That is wonderful. I feel like just popping on over. Yes, I'm on the other side of the world, but I feel like just popping on in. That would be so lovely. Thank you for the invite to everyone, and we do have listeners in the UK. One final thing I like to ask my guests before we say goodbye, and that is there a piece of advice or some kind of piece of wisdom or a nugget that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Find yourself. Search for it. This is a treasure hunt. Let's find the treasure of who we really are.
What a beautiful way to put it. It is a treasure hunt. Life is a treasure hunt, isn't it? Yeah. And I love the message, the theme of this conversation, the things that I've gotten out of this has been really quite strong and very profound, that I know I'll be processing and thinking about it for days to come. Clare, thank you. Thank you for coming and being my guest and sharing your spirit and your love and your energy today with me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, and thank you as well to all the amazing listeners. Much love to everyone.
Yeah, just thanks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I did in hosting it. So please rate, review, and leave us a comment below. And finally, also, I'd love you to share it with a friend, someone who you think would get something positive from it, someone who would enjoy it. We're here for each other, so please share the love. If you'd like to reach out and talk to me and learn about how you can make a bigger difference in the world by serving the ideal clients that you have with purpose, please get in contact over at journeypoint.com.au. See you on the next episode of 6 Star Leaders Podcast.